in 2000. I asked you about Jerry Falwell, and this is what you said.
Governor Bush swung far to the right and sought out the base support of Pat Robertson and Jerry Falwell. Those aren't the ideas that I think are good for the Republican Party.
I believe that the quote Christian right has a major role to play in the Republican Party. One reason is because they're so active and their followers are. And I believe they have a right to be a part of our party. I don't have to agree with everything they stand for, nor do I have to agree with everything that's on the liberal side of the Republican Party.
President Bush has talked about our staying in Iraq for 50 years.
Maybe 100.
Is that
how long?
We've
been in South Korea. We've been in Japan for 60 years. We've been in South Korea for 50 years or so. That'd be fine with me,
so
as long as Americans are not being injured or harmed or wounded or killed. Then it's fine with me.
With having U.S. troops in Iraq for the next 100 years.
Most importantly, so would the American people if Americans aren't dying. We have a base in the neighboring country of Kuwait, a very large base. We have a base in Turkey. We have bases in Japan, Germany. We've had bases there. It's not American presence that bothers the American people. It's American casualties. Many experts. You ought to catch up on things, Wolf. General Petraeus goes out there almost every day in an unarmed Humvee. I think you ought to catch up. You see, you are giving the old line of 3 months ago. I understand it. You certainly don't get it through the filter of some of the media, but I know for a fact of much of the success we're experiencing, including the ability of Americans in many parts, not all. We've got a long, long way to go. We only got 2 of the 5 brigades there to go into some neighborhoods in Baghdad in a secure fashion.
Michael, you've been there, what, for 4 years. You're walking around Baghdad on a daily basis. Has there been this improvement that Senator McCain is speaking about?
Well, I'd certainly like to bring Senator McCain up to speed if he ever gives me the opportunity. And if I have any difficulty hearing you right now, Wolf, that's because of the helicopters circling overhead and the gun battle that is blazing away just a few blocks down the road. Is Baghdad any safer? Sectarian violence, one particular type of violence, is down. But none of the American generals here on the ground have anything like Senator McCain's confidence. I mean, Senator McCain's credibility now on Iraq, which has been so solid to this point, is now being left out hanging to dry. To suggest that there's any neighbourhood in this city where an American can walk freely is beyond ludicrous. I'd love Senator McCain to tell me where that neighbourhood is, and he and I can go for a stroll. And to think that General David Petraeus travels this city in an unarmed Humvee. I mean, in the hour since Senator McCain has said this, I've spoken to some military sources, and there was laughter down the line. I mean, certainly the general travels in a Humvee. There's multiple Humvees around it, heavily armed. There's attack helicopters, predator drones, sniper teams, all sorts of layers of protection. So no, Senator McCain is...
Every campaign I've ever been in my life, I've out-campaigned all of my opponents, and I'm confident that I will. And thanks for the question, you little jerk.
Bomberan song.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan. Bom, 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 bom. Anyway,
Shopping in Baghdad. I had something really picked out for you, too. It's a nice...
Did you really?
Yeah, it's a nice little IED to put onto your desk.
It's very lovely of you.
Whoa! Holy! By the way, the dog wasn't there, Chloe. I wanted to kick it on my way in.
Chloe, no. Chloe's the sweetest dog in the world.
I'm not interested in trading. I don't. Look, I met with a high-ranking former al-Qaeda operative in Iraq recently, and I asked him, how did you succeed? He said, the lawlessness after the initial invasion and Abu Ghraib. And so they were able to recruit
people because of the disorder and the mishandling. So you would not be asking me if it had been mishandled. You would have said, if because we succeeded and established a stable Iraq, you'd have said, aren't you glad we went in? Because Saddam Hussein, one of the most brutal, most terrible dictators in history, who had fought in several wars, used weapons of mass destruction, invaded his neighbor, is now gone from the world scene. That's what you'd be saying.
But I think there'd be a real debate amongst the American people if we were told he did not have biological, chemical,
If
nuclear
frogs had wings, look, Tim, we can talk about lots of hypotheticals.
So bottom line, the war was not a mistake.
The war, quote, the invasion was not a mistake. The handling of the war was a terrible mistake.
Talking exactly about that because that's what we have been doing. We used to support Saddam Hussein and we used to be allied with Osama bin Laden, and what I want to do is stop that. Who are our friends one day turn out to be our enemies. Right now we finally got rid of Saddam Hussein, and what are we doing now? We're rearming the Sunnis, the old henchmen of Saddam Hussein, and what are they going to do with this? All those weapons we're giving the Sunnis in Baghdad. So look out. Believe me, that war is not over. And right now they're demanding more troops in Afghanistan. And some people, like the senator, he thinks we should be there for 100 years if necessary. How can he commit the young people of this world 5 more generations to be in Iraq if it's necessary? I say it's time to come home.
Senator McCain, you got... Senator McCain.